Hi guys! Today I'm doing a review for a book I just finished and loved, and that is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I borrowed it from the library, so ignore the awful glare from the plasticky cover. So I know Red Rising came out about a year ago. I'd heard all these wonderful, amazing, fantastic raves about this book, about how it was the new Hunger Games and all this stuff, and I just kept putting it off and putting it off because I just didn't really have any interest in reading it. So finally I went and ordered it from the library, then I'd wait for a few weeks for it to get here, and I just read it last night. Like, I busted through the whole thing in a day. I've never been so upset at missing out on a book in my life. I loved this book, you guys. I thought it was so fantastic, and I'm really mad that nobody pushed me into reading it more. So to start it off, Red Rising is about a boy named Darrow who is living in this, almost like a colony, underneath Mars, and they're miners and they live in like bad conditions and they barely get to eat and things, and they believe that that's okay because they think that they are terraforming Mars for other people to come and live on, and that they're making a sacrifice, you know, whatever. And certain things happen, I don't want to spoil anything, but bad stuff happens to Darrow and he's going to be killed. But instead he gets smuggled out by this like group, like a rebellion, and they turn him into a gold, which in this world he finds out that Mars, along with a whole bunch of other planets, have already been terraformed and people are living there, so it's all been a lie, and they are basically living on this planet that the Reds, which is what Darrow is in, which are like the lowest faction, but they're living off of like this land, this world that the Reds have made for them, you know, through blood and sweat, and they're getting nothing for it. So there's a whole bunch of different, like, well, not quite classes, but factions, classes, whatever, that are based on color. So the reds are really low, and then there's like pinks that are like prostitutes and things. And I think it was the greens are creatives, but golds are the highest. They're like where it's at. So the rebellion group decides to turn him into a gold and get him to infiltrate. And he has to go compete in this competition that's not what it seems, and it's not what anybody expects, and it's amazing. This book is just about survival and what it means to be a leader and kind of turning Darrow's beliefs around, but not quite, and so much internal conflict, and it's so smart and it's so interesting and it's so great. It was so good. It was so good, you guys. I knew I was going to like this book when, before we even hit like 50 pages in, I was crying like a baby. Something really sad happens. I'm not going to say if you haven't read the book, but 50 pages in already, I cared about the characters so much, and I felt this world so good. Like, it was so beautifully written already that 50 pages in, I was crying over the fate of some of these characters and just the horrible injustice done to the Reds, and it's kind of embarrassing, but I was seriously like full on sobbing. So the thing that really carried this book for me, besides the great world building, was Darrow as a character. He was so filled with rage and vengeance and sadness throughout the whole book, but he also had such a warm, understanding heart, like deep down in there. And his character, he was so smart. Like, not like, oh, I'm a super genius, but like street smart, people smart, intuitive. You know, he was very, very clever, and you see that throughout the book in the competition, and he has a way of earning the loyalty of the people and of putting himself as equals to them, even though really he shouldn't. Like, he becomes what a leader should be, even though that's not what he's supposed to be doing. It's hard to explain without giving away spoilers, but he is just such an intense character, and you really feel him and feel his soul and who he is as a person almost immediately into the book. And that was one of the things I really loved about this book, was all the characters were so strong and defined as people that they felt very real to me. Like, I knew who they were and what they felt, and it was really fantastic. And the writing style of this book was something I don't really read often. It was really kind of gritty and jumpy and very realistic, but it had such a flow to it that it was really beautiful. Like, as I was reading, it was very visual. I really enjoyed how refreshing it was compared to a lot of other young adult authors, because it didn't really feel like a young adult book. It didn't have a lot of those elements that I associate with young adult books, like kind of the cheesy romance, the quick, easy writing, the semi-predictable plot. And that's not applicable to all young adult books, obviously, but I get that with a lot. And this book had so many twists and turns that it was never once predictable, and I loved that. I never knew what was going to happen next. And Darrow was always so smart and like 3 steps ahead, but you as the reader aren't 3 steps ahead with him. So when he does things, you're like, what the hell are you doing? You're gonna die, you idiot. But he's so smart. And the plot itself was really quick-paced for me, and it spans over like 2 years. So obviously there's gonna be some filler in there, but I felt like it was necessary filler. It was necessary to build these characters, to build this world, to understand Darrow and what it is that he's fighting for. And I thought it was so effective and so great. So, in all honesty, you guys, when I do an end of the year best books of 2014, Red Rising is probably going to be up there on the list. Also, on a little side note, I'm sure everybody already knows this, but he's so swoony. Look at him. Look at that face. Look at that face. He's the cutest guy to ever write a book, I think. Really, like, I just peeked at the back and did like a double take, and I was like, what the hell, is this real? Did he really write this book? Not only is he ridiculously attractive, but he's like 10 times more attractive because I love this book so much. Look at his face. Anyways, so Red Rising was fantastic. I loved it. I'm giving it like 100 out of 5 stars. Not really, but you know, and I'm going to pre-order Golden Sun, the second book that comes out in January, I think. That's a good thing, is since I read this so late, now I don't have to wait very long for the second one. So that was the one good thing to come out of waiting so long. Alright, that is all. I'm going to go cry now thinking about the 2 months I have to wait to get the next book. Thanks for watching, you guys. See you next time.